Good evening, Trekker fans. As you can see, it's Christmas. The decorations are up in Dora. So the winter's here. The winter's been with us a while, but it's not been that cold actually. But I thought I'd show you the winterization process, or at least what I do when there's a cold snap. We don't really ever fully winterize our vans. Because we tend to use them all. We've only got one van. We tend to use it all through the winter. So when there's a cold snap coming, if we're not using it, I'll drain the water down simplistically, just to make sure there's not water in that's going to freeze. That's about all we do really. But I thought I'd show you the process just to make sure we're all on the same page with it. So first thing to do, I guess, is to drain the water out of the tank. So that's fresh and waste. So in the cupboard here. So at the moment I've got the switches on closed, which is the yellow. If I move it one click, the lights go out. That doesn't do anything. It just turns off the power to the valve. And then switch it to red, which is up on both of them. That opens the valves. You can just about hear the electronic valve opening, and then the water will flow out. There's not much water in there, but let's have a quick look. So then want to check that all the water's come out and the water is flowing, and the fresh water comes out behind the rear wheel there. A little bit of water coming out. And the foul comes out, or the grey water comes out behind the, can't really see it in the dark, behind the driver's door there. So check the water's flowing out and the tanks are then empty. Next thing to do is to just pump the system dry. So I'll turn on the water pump. So on the control panel, hit water, go to the fresh water. You can see now both tanks are empty actually. So the waste is empty and so is the fresh. I'm going to put the pump on. The alarm comes on because there's less than 25% in the tank, so I'm going to cancel that. And I'm going to go to each of the taps and drain that down. So that's the cold running there. We'll drain the cold on there. And the waste is open, so that's going to drain out. And I also do the same, probably get wet here, on the shower. Not much coming out of the shower because there's not enough water, I think, to get. Oh, here comes a bit coming out. There we go. So that's coming out through the shower. So let's drain those off. I'll do the same for the hot as well. So put on hot, just get the water out of the boiler. Drain that system down. You can see there's a fair amount of water in there, even though the tanks are empty. There's water in the system which, if you don't drain down, could freeze and pop a pipe. So it's worth doing. Just drain the system dry. And eventually it will stop running. Once that's running, I'll show you the next step. Actually, what I should have done first was check the boiler's turned off. Fortunately, I already know it's turned off, but so check that the electric's turned off here, so the mains is off and off there, and the gas is off as well. Otherwise, you could be draining water out the boiler and it running dry, or trying to heat yourself and it'll burn itself out. So the water's almost drained. Yeah, we're almost there on the water now. It's almost pumped itself completely dry. And then the next thing to do, which I'll show you shortly, is to make sure you drain the boiler actually. I'll show you the drain. I can do it now. Oh, the boiler drain switch is here. So if I turn that, that will allow water to come out, and there's a small pipe under there. You see the water now coming out of the boiler as well. So really important that you've got the boiler turned off at this point, and you make sure that you leave it switched off until you've primed the system, so that's filling everything back up with water and letting the water run through the system to make sure there's water actually in the boiler. So I can shut all these now because the water stopped coming through, pump's going dry, and I can turn the pump off. Pump's off. That's nice and quiet now. Right, next thing to do is to disconnect some pipes down under here. Ooh. I need a tea towel. I'm going to grab a tea towel. Tea towel. There we go. There's a tea towel. So I'm going to grab the tea towel just because there might be a bit of water in the pump. So this is the pump. That's the boiler. This is the pump. So the first thing I've got to do is disconnect this white vessel here. On mine it's just clipped in there. On some people's it's screwed in. The bracket's screwed in, so I can just unclip that. And I just simply need to disconnect this pipe. Say simply, it's hard one hand. So there's a push fitting here. I'm just going to push and pull the pipe out. Might have to put the phone down at this point so I can balance it. There we go. So it's easier with two hands. Do that instead. There we go. Oh. So I've just pulled. If you can see that, this pipe off of the boiler, so off the pump, so that this pump now is no longer connected, so it's just drained everything out from the pump. I can do the same this side actually. I'll do it on this pipe here, it's probably easier on this side. There we go. So I just disconnected that just to run any water out of it. So now this is completely disconnected. So it drains any water out, and if anything does try and freeze, it can easily expand and get out of the pipes. All these pipes are now disconnected, so there's no water left in them. And I'll leave the tea towel down in case any last minute leaks. Oh. And that's it for the water. What I will do now is leave these open though, so if there is any water in them, it can expand. And I also pop the shower head on the floor, so any water that's in there can just drain out, and also leave the tap open, but the pump off, just so water can drain out. The last thing you might want to do is just turn off all the systems. So if there is any drain on the battery, it just cuts everything off. So under the main seat here, I might struggle with one hand. You lift up the panel and press the main button on the control unit, and that just turns everything off. So there's no doubt, nothing can then drain the battery because it's not connected to anything. It's not running anything. The downside of that is you won't get any trickle charge to the battery because everything's turned off. What I tend to do is I've not turned the systems off. I now and again, if we're not driving the van, which is rare, I will plug it in. So we're about to go away on Christmas holes, so won't be using the van. So I've got it plugged in to the mains on a 3-pin socket, just to give it a charge, give the battery a nice boost. And it'll probably then last for a couple of weeks out here at least, because it's not doing it at all. So that's it. Hopefully that's useful. That's, I guess, my Trekker tips for winterising the van, which mainly comprises draining down the water, make sure the boiler's off, and turning the power off or keeping the battery topped up. That's it for now, Trekker fans. Take care.